now have to figure out if they will be in the playoffs. They're the Super Bowl favorite and have shorter odds to miss the postseason as you and I sit here right now.
Right, but let me ask you this. Do you feel after this 5-4 record, 9 weeks, 10 weeks of the regular season, that their defense is as dominant as it was last year?
But the offense is better.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Fly Pelican, more like grounded Pelican. The Pelicans are 0-6 to start the season. Their main guys aren't their main guys. And it comes to a point where, what do you do if you are Joe Dumars and the leadership of New Orleans?
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
You want to throw $12, $13 million at Kiffin? That's always a possibility. Summerall, they lost the other night to, in that matchup to UTSA. Or do you go back to potentially the mad scientist and Nick Saban, give him, complete control of the athletic department and see if he can turn it around? We'll see. But whatever they go, they're going to need a coach to hit the ground running.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
His daughter, she's on the OF.
Okay.
She's on the OF now.
Is that right?
Yeah, she's on the OF now.
So he's got an OnlyFans daughter and a little son
who says he can beat Curry and LeBron.
And he's coaching a team that was down 72-0.
Keep that dude away from polite society.
Okay, brother, I'm with you. I didn't know any of that is.
Numerous Pops gotta go.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Friday edition of NewsWire live here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. Great to be with you here as we get ready for a big weekend of football, basketball, and hockey if you like to. We'll break down the latest in college football. Bill Bender will be with us. We'll get some predictions. In fact, Oregon plays tonight. Big game in college football. We'll get a preview of that as well. We got John Lafayette breaking down the latest in sports media and news as well. Not to mention Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report, and also Adam Kaufman with a view of the slate in the National Football League. Those are just some of the guests that we have here on the show, so stick around with us. 90 minutes of covering everything happening in sports and sports wagering and business here as well. Let's start off with the sports wagering business that is the National Football League. They don't call themselves one, but let's be honest, a lot of people bet on football. Just like Major League Baseball, National Football League wants to, at the very least, take out some of the prop bets that are available on DraftKings, FanDuel, and everywhere else. Right now, they're saying limit. That's the word that's being used, sending a memo to team officials saying that in light of the recent gambling scandals in baseball, the league is working with lawmakers, regulators, and sports betting partners in recent weeks to limit bets. And also, where possible, to prohibit bets. That's going to be a little bit tougher in terms of props. Some of the categories do include inherently objectionable, which include injuries and misconduct, officiating-related bets, too. They want to get rid of those. Bets that are determined by one person, like a kicker missing a field goal or a quarterback throwing an incompletion, and also some predetermined stuff like starter status, first play. So we'll see what ends up happening in the National Football League. But again, maxing out bets does seem like a logical spot to go, because then, I mean, I guess there'll still be some bad actors, but if you can only bet $100 or $200 on a prop, what would they be doing? I don't know. Emmanuel Clase thought making millions of dollars wasn't enough. Looks like he was involved in a sports betting scandal that he's now potentially going to jail for, but as of now, innocent until proven guilty. He pled not guilty in Brooklyn federal court for his role in the sports betting scandal involving himself and another pitcher on his team named Ortiz. He was released on a $600,000 bond. He can stay in New York City, Long Island, and Ohio, and he is prohibited from gambling. There is a shock. Meanwhile, another sports betting story, which we learned about via ESPN yesterday. 14 people were charged for roles in a multi-million-dollar illegal sports betting ring that involved college athletes, had some links to organized crime. There's not a ton of information here on the story, and very few names are being released. There's some discussion that it could be at the collegiate level and not even at a high-level sport like wrestling or some other things too. But the NCAA is looking into it. Naturally, when they have more reporting on this next week, we'll bring it right back to you. Last night in the National Football League, the New England Patriots and New York Jets battled for about a half. Then New England imposed their will. Ended up winning 27-14. They have the best record right now in the National Football League. Travion Henderson, you see his picture there. He was the star. 3 rushing touchdowns for Henderson. Why in the world did they not use this guy earlier in the season? I have no idea. Does look like on most of the sports books that the Patriots did cover that 12.5 number. It just depends on where you bet it. Some spots did have 13. Actually, some did have 12 too. So taking the points doesn't look like it was the spot to go for the Jets. Mike Vrabel talked after the game about not just preparing for this game against New York, but combining it in that short window where they beat Tampa Bay.
Go on the road to Tampa, and get your mind, ready for that. But also in the back of your mind, you've got a whole nother box about, what are you going to do against the Jets, and being able to get on a plane, come home, get in late, but have that ready to go and have energy and a game plan ready for the players on Monday at 1 o'clock. So thank the trainers, thank the staff, the strength staff, everybody involved for getting our players ready to go for the game here in a short week.
And we got to do a better job just across the board. There were a number of things within that game, and I'm just talking coaches and players, that we got to do a better job of. So we have this little mini break that we have. As we come back on Monday and we get to work, and we'll have an extra bonus day to get some work in. But man, the one thing that really just sticks out is details and discipline. That was a box that we didn't check off today. And we have to look at those things, coaches and players alike, and do a better job there. So looking forward to getting back Monday, looking at this film, getting to Monday, getting to work, and getting ready to move on to our next game.
Meanwhile, the National Football League doesn't want you to know internally what the facilities are like, what the food is like, what the staff is like. In fact, the NFL has filed a grievance against the Players Association to stop leaking the annual team report cards and saying that that exercise violates the collective bargaining agreement by airing public criticism. Okay. See if that works. Lamar Jackson back at practice for the Baltimore Ravens. He's had good success at Cleveland and some mixed results at Cleveland, by the way, too. With Lamar Jackson, the team is averaging 33 points a game. Without him, just 15. But we know since he's been back, he's been great. But he has had some duds in Cleveland, and the media asked him why that has been in the past.
You've had some memorable good games in Cleveland and also some rough ones. Why do you think that has been a tough place to play over the years?
I mean, it's a divisional opponent. We see them twice a year, so sometimes you win, sometimes you lose some, but it's part of football, I guess. Shoot, if anything, we need more points. Our defense is playing great. Special teams playing great. I feel like we have great moments, but just being consistent, that's what we're chasing right now. I believe, everybody just play their part, each and every game, because I always say this, I'm not the one blocking, I'm not the one catching the ball. I'm not the only one running the ball either, everybody always play a part, no matter what.
Meanwhile, the San Francisco 49ers got some good news yesterday. Brock Purdy will be back at starting quarterback for them. He's missed over a month of the season and said it's been a frustrating one, but he's getting back just in time.
Yeah, it's been frustrating. Obviously, like going into year 4, I wanted to come in and play my best ball so far in my career, and was really excited about it. We come in, play Seattle, and win on the road, and just feeling really good about the year. And then all of a sudden, like I'm just dealing with the toe thing, and it has been frustrating. Just the time missed, and seeing our team and an opportunity to go and win games, put a season together, man, and feel good about it. So it's just been frustrating for sure. But at the same time, this is just the cards that I've been dealt with, and I'm not trying to be woe is me kind of thing. We still have 7 games here to go and put something together, and our goals are right in front of us. So that's how I'm looking at it. I'm excited about it.
49ers and Cardinals on Sunday. Meanwhile, Texans will take on the Tennessee Titans on the road. They'll be doing it once again without C.J. Stroud, who had a concussion the previous game, so Davis Mills gets to start this one coming up this weekend. Meanwhile, the Toronto Raptors, nice win for them against the Cleveland Cavaliers yesterday, 126-113. Scotty Barnes led the team with 28 points in this one, although Donovan Mitchell had 31 points, turned the ball over 7 times. Been a little bit of a disappointing start, 8-5 for Cleveland. It's been a mentally tough start, says Donovan Mitchell.
I think the biggest thing was just the mental push through. Yeah, we're going to be tired, right? But at the end of the day, we're going to be tired when it comes down to it. And this was a test that I say we failed, right? But, we can use this and be better next time. But we just didn't have it as a collective. And that's natural when you have a 5-7 and you're traveling and doing all that stuff. But as a collective, we just didn't do it together. And that's the tough part, because when those moments, we got to talk even more. We got to execute even better. You know what I mean? And I think as a group, we just didn't do that. And, we'll be better.
What a start to the season for Jalen Johnson of the Atlanta Hawks. A triple-double last night as Atlanta beat Utah 132-122. And how about this stat line? 31 points, 18 rebounds, 14 assists, and 7 steals. If I was playing fantasy basketball, I'd have to start that guy. Devin Booker, 33 points. Dillon Brooks, 32. Suns beat the Pacers, who were struggling to win any games this season. I believe they have won 133-98. In Major League Baseball, back-to-back MVPs. That's the story. Shohei Ohtani wins in the National League. That was not a surprise. Aaron Judge just beat out Cal Raleigh. He wins the second straight MVP, and also comeback player of the year, by the way, announced yesterday. Jacob deGrom for Texas, Ronald Acuna Jr. for Atlanta win it yesterday. Coming up next, we've got a preview of Minnesota, Oregon tonight. Under the Lights with Bill Bender next.
After the game about the worst defensive performance in New York City basketball history, he may have been right. But I will say this, very, very impressed by the scoring acumen of both teams. And if they can shore up their defenses, both teams will make a run and march. And I mean a deep one.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Another sport like the NBA, which is dealing with its own, scandals, so to speak, and its own headlines with the FBI and what else comes, because this is the same FBI team that also brought the NBA scandals to light. So I'd have to imagine they're working on some other stuff as well right now, and the timing is definitely not a coincidence, but definitely some very significant news in the gambling world that now you're not going to be able to bet more than $200 on a specific pitch market.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
The 35 cents, though, for yes on Ohio State.
Yeah.
I like that, Donnie. I think there's value in that right now because we only got, 3 weeks left to go. Then we'll have conference championships. Yeah, the more they keep winning, and they will win, the more that will increase, and that's a pretty good return on an investment there with Kalshi.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Detroit's going to be a top 6 team in the East. And they're going to be extremely dangerous. And it may be fun to watching that Central Division between Detroit and Cleveland. Kind of makes you think back to the old early 2000s with LeBron and obviously the Chauncey Billups-led Detroit team. But Detroit basketball's back.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Let's preview the weekend of college football with Bill Bender from Sporting News. We'll talk about a game tonight, and then we'll get into the Saturday slate. Bill, great to have you back here, of course, on the show. And, hey, a top 10 team in college football playing tonight. I think last time we saw this was University of Miami losing on a Friday night. I wonder if that will be the case tonight, although the point spread tells me no. Oregon minus 25.5 at home against Minnesota. total 44.5. And by the way, let's not discredit the Golden Gophers. Like, they're 6-3. They're going to a bowl game. They won a big game against Michigan State. They've had their ups. They've had their downs. Which one will it be tonight?
Well, PJ Fleck will get them to 8 wins, and if their trends hold, they'll win their bowl game. They typically do that as well. One I like tonight is the under. Oregon's last 2 games against Wisconsin and Iowa, that same style that Minnesota is going to try to play even on the road, have hit the under. So I think Oregon with that rushing attack, we're undervaluing them a little bit. I respect that they got to Iowa and got the win. That number looks a little high on the spread. I'd probably stay away from it, but I do like the under.
Yeah, and they're going to make the college football playoff. FanDuel has them at -300, barring some catastrophe. To win the national championship, though, their odds not as short as they were last year. 15-1 will be Dan Lanning in Oregon, who you see right there. Meanwhile, point spread going in favor. The public seems to be on Georgia this week, and I understand it, Bill, because Texas has been one of those teams that's hard to figure. I think that you would be shocked if you went back a month ago and I told you that they'd be ranked 10th in the country, but they've actually turned things around. They are 6.5-point dogs, are the Longhorns this week, total of 48.5. And, if you gave Gunnar Stockton, Arch Manning's numbers, you could kind of flip them and say, hey, all of a sudden Stockton's been the better quarterback this season. And if you didn't know any better, you'd think that he is the big prospect going into the National Football League. But let's give credit to Manning. He's padded his stats, I think, against some really bad teams, by the way. But this would be the game, the signature one, if Manning can get things over the top and not throw as many picks as he did early in the year.
Yeah, I think you said it. Arch Manning will be the focus in this game, especially because some of these big games have been against not the best defenses in the SEC. I do think he played very well in the second half of the Oklahoma game, and he's built on that. And now he has a chance to go to Georgia. Remember, Georgia really wanted Arch Manning in the recruiting process, too. I think that's another wrinkle to this game. But the key to me, Gunnar Stockton. Here's a guy that goes underappreciated a little bit. Georgia might have a little trouble running the football against this Texas run defense that ranks second in the country. But Gunnar Stockton, 84.8 completion percentage in the fourth quarter in games this year. So I think if this comes down to a tight game late, I'm counting on Georgia to make the plays in the clutch. And if Arch does, I know what we're going to be talking about Sunday morning. But give me the Bulldogs. Tight game, but I like Georgia to win and cover.
Okay, 5.5 up to 6.5 in some spots. All right, marquee matchup, 3:30 p.m. Eastern in Tuscaloosa, where Alabama should be favored, and the line, though, is only 5.5, Bill. In my conversations earlier this week, it does seem a little fishy to me, considering that I think they've played against some better teams and have been bigger favorites against them. But looking at Oklahoma, Bill, really, I think fascinating. If they somehow pull off this upset, they get Missouri at home, should win that. They get, it looks like LSU at home. I mean, there's a chance that Oklahoma could be in the top 5 at the end of the season. But this is one they have to win if that's the case. They have to win this game.
This is the must-win game. And everybody's talking about last year's game, that the Sooners beat Alabama in Norman. And I remember watching that game. This is what kept the Crimson Tide out of the college football playoff. But 2 stats from that game matter. Alabama had 2.3 yards per carry, and they had 3 turnovers. Believe it or not, Alabama has just 6 turnovers all season. So I think that ability to protect the football, even against an elite Oklahoma defense at home, where they've covered most of the season, will make the difference. Ty Simpson's been amazing, by the way. I think he's on the fringe of the playoff conversation. I like Alabama. I've trusted them at home all season. I'm going to trust them one more time here. Oklahoma playing for their playoff lives, but I think they fall just short.
Notre Dame takes on Pittsburgh Saturday at 12 o'clock Eastern. Every game, I think from here on out, is probably must win for the Fighting Irish. They're always going to get that ranking love here, no pun intended, but they're 9th in the country. Pitt is 22nd. They're predicting somewhat of a defensive battle here, but I look at this total, I see 55.5. And Bill, look, I mean, Ashton Genty was a really good running back, maybe great running back at Boise State if you look at all those numbers. But I got to tell you, this Jeremiah Love, I don't know. Has he the best since Barkley coming out of college? I'm not even sure. I mean, he is unstoppable. That run that he had last week where they stopped him completely, just got up and ran for a touchdown. He's not going to win any awards or anything like that, but it's like 150 and 2-3 touchdowns every game. And they have another running back that's like really good too.
Yeah, Jadarian Price and him have played off each other really well all season. This is the game where he can attract Heisman attention, Jeremiah Love. Because why? He's going up against these Pitt linebackers, Braylon Lovelace, Kyle Lewis, Rasheem Biles. These guys are disruptive. They have 5 interceptions between the three of them. They're one of the best trios in the nation. So if Notre Dame in this kind of old school classic rivalry runs right through them, Jeremiah Love could vault in the Heisman odds. I do like Notre Dame to win, but I also like Pitt to cover here. At home, you know how that turf is there. And they got the game day spotlight. I think their defense hangs around. Don't read anything into Pat Narduzzi's comments about Notre Dame scoring 100 this week. I think the Panthers are going to show up, play pretty hard.
Yeah, this is a good season for them. We'll see if they can cap it off this week, of course, before Thanksgiving. Okay, one of the quiet teams that's been climbing has been USC. If you didn't look, they're ranked 17th now in the country, and if they hadn't lost that game to Illinois, I don't know, they'd probably be top 5 or top 10. That would mean their only loss is Notre Dame, but they do have that blip on their schedule, but they're headed in the right direction. On the outside looking into the college football playoff, they don't have to win out and win the conference, obviously, but USC minus 7.5 this week, total 49.5. Iowa coming off, obviously, that really tough loss this past week. Seems like a big number for me for USC, Bill, but I mean, the Trojans are playing really good football right now.
Yeah, and it's going to count on where Iowa's headspace is. I really like how USC's trending. You know, they've averaged 38 points per game against Big Ten teams at home. I think if they win this one, it sets up one heck of a game against Oregon next week because the Trojans will be playing for their playoff life at that point. I actually like them to roll here comfortably. I don't know if Iowa can keep up if USC scores on the first couple drives. I don't know if Iowa has the passing attack to keep up. So give me the Trojans in a big number.
Final second loss, always tough the following week. That's the case with Kirk Ferentz in Iowa. All right, Bill, enjoy the games this weekend. We'll catch up next week.
Hey, no problem, Craig. Thank you.
Coming up next, we will do the Sports Grid sound off: Packers, Giants, Bears, Vikings, Seahawks, and Rams.
After the game about the worst defensive performance in New York City basketball history, he may have been right. But I will say this, very, very impressed by the scoring acumen of both teams. And if they can shore up their defenses, both teams will make a run and march. And I mean a deep one.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Another sport like the NBA, which is dealing with its own, scandals, so to speak, and its own headlines with the FBI and what else comes, because this is the same FBI team that also brought the NBA scandals to light. So I'd have to imagine they're working on some other stuff as well right now, and the timing is definitely not a coincidence, but definitely some very significant news in the gambling world that now you're not going to be able to bet more than $200 on a specific pitch market.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
The 35 cents, though, for yes on Ohio State.
Yeah.
I like that, Donnie. I think there's value in that right now because we only got, 3 weeks left to go. Then we'll have conference championships. Yeah, the more they keep winning, and they will win, the more that will increase, and that's a pretty good return on an investment there with Kalshi.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Detroit's going to be a top 6 team in the East. And they're going to be extremely dangerous. And it may be fun to watching that Central Division between Detroit and Cleveland. Kind of makes you think back to the old early 2000s with LeBron and obviously the Chauncey Billups-led Detroit team. But Detroit basketball is back.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. The New York Giants have a chance to fight for their interim coach this week. Also, the Bears and Vikings in a divisional matchup. And speaking of a good one, Seahawks and Rams. late Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern. Let's preview those games in the Sports Grid Sound Off. First, let's start off with the New York Giants this week. Mike Kafka going to be the head coach, at least on the interim basis for the Giants. We'll see what he can end up doing. But meanwhile, Brian Daboll was shown the door earlier this week after another heartbreaking loss this past week for the New York Giants. But the Packers are coming in upset as well after their offense really struggled against the Philadelphia Eagles. Meanwhile, Dexter Lawrence, great defensive player for the Giants, talked about bidding farewell to his now ex-coach Brian Daboll.
It was tough. That's my guy. But I mean, he's gonna be okay. I know who he is as a man, and he's gonna be all right. And our job is to go out here and win the next game. So that's what we're gonna do, and we're gonna keep fighting, and that's all you can do.
As players, how do you take the news? I guess obviously, do you take any kind of responsibility, or do you feel like any kind of just,
For sure. We win more games. That doesn't happen. So. Me personally, I take that as I could have done more, which you always can in a loss or a win. So you just got to keep going, and it happened. They believe that it can get us to the next level, and I'm on the train, and we're gonna keep riding.
Vikings and Bears squaring off this Sunday. Team that wins definitely the upper hand to get into the postseason picture. Meanwhile, it's been a struggle for the Vikings offense, up and down and inside and out, just really hard to predict what they're going to do on a weekly basis. A lot of it attributed, of course, to the quarterback play. J.J. McCarthy played okay, then not so good. Carson Wentz, same thing. Now McCarthy is back at quarterback. Year 6, by the way, for Justin Jefferson, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, but not having that kind of year. Would love to get back to where he used to be.
Yeah, just the big, plays. Of course, that year I had the Offensive Player of the Year. Just different moments in that season. I felt like I was just on a different level. So just trying to work back into that, the feeling of being out there on Sundays and going out there and just killing it, whoever's in front of me. So just having that mentality back and just, being back to my old self.
Do you not feel year 5 wasn't like that? You had 1,500 yards.
I mean, I guess you can look at it and see every year is, a spectacular year for me. But I feel like that year was just, a different year. Just, of course, with the amount of close wins that we had that year, the adversity that we had, and just overcoming that adversity. I felt like that year was a special year personally for myself.
And Jefferson has not had a bad year by any means. It's just not as consistent as it was with better quarterback play. Meanwhile, a former member of the Los Angeles Rams is headed back home this week. Cooper Kupp is now on Seattle. He makes the visit to Los Angeles in a very big divisional game, although Kupp told the media this week there isn't much of a reunion because it's just another game.
It's another football game, Get out there, play your game. Love these guys. Love so many of the guys over there, and by the end of the day, gotta go play a football game. So that's gonna be what it is. Try to treat this the same as any other game, and go out there and just be able to lock in, do your job one play after the next, and take that play by play mindset, and same as usual.
Word is that they're going to do some sort of tribute to you there. And, how do you acknowledge that and also stay locked in like you're talking about?
I don't know. I didn't know that. I don't know. I mean, I didn't die. I'm here. So I appreciate it. It's obviously so thankful for my time there. Incredible experience. Built so much with just the fans, with the guys that I was able to play with, and just great experiences. So nothing but love for that city, and but I mean, like I said, you gotta be able to lock in for the game and what's ahead of you. So
it is a Friday, so a couple of news and notes on the injury front from the NFL. As we get it, we give it to you. Looks like no Dalton Kincaid for the Buffalo Bills. He was injured against Miami this past week, so he's going to miss this week's game. And also no surprise for Tampa Bay. although it has been a couple of months since Bucky Irving has played at running back for the Buccaneers. Just still can't get healthy. And also Chris Godwin, who may be coming back at some point for Tampa Bay this season. Both players ruled out by the Bucs. All right, coming up next, we will get into the latest that the NFL sent a memo about sports betting to the league. Sam McQuillan weighs in on that next.
Notre Dame playing very well, in a position to crack the top 12. Now they have to take care of business.
Here's what I want from and again, we're going to go over who we think is actually going to make the playoffs here a little bit later in the show. But understand this, Joe. I don't want any ACC in there. I don't want any Big 12 in there. Just give me the Big 10 and the SEC. And Mike, quite frankly, if you just gave me Ohio State, Indiana, and the rest of the SEC, boom, boom.
Nah.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
It is a sickness in this league. They stink, and they should stink next year. That's it.
But the expectation is to be a 9-8 football team.
So let's shake it. Why is that the expectation? They're garbage. And traded away two of the few good guys they have.
But they're going to get how many draft picks in the first round? 3 next year?
Two.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Brissett has been that good. So this is a quarterback that I think is worth acquiring, but especially in Superflex leagues. If somebody's already got QBs past the bye and Brissett's just collecting dust on somebody's bench, go out there, get him, because I think the next 4 weeks, some of the matchups too, he gets Jacksonville, he gets San Francisco, he gets Tampa. Those are going to be some higher scoring games potentially. Good news for fantasy managers who are trying to get Jacoby Brissett.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Today's prop was 15, right? And he's at 44. If you altered him to 20 or 25 plus, those are some big numbers. Like 15 and a half. Like Jack Besh this morning was 11 and a half, and his number got bet up to 15 and a half. Tyler Lockett was 16 and a half and bet down to 15 and a half. If you just took a shot, like 15 to 25 is nothing. And next week, his number's not going to be 15.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Craig Mish joined by Sam McQuillan of Legal Sports Report to go over the latest in the sports betting landscape. You can read all about the topics we discuss over at LegalSportsReport.com. Sam, thanks for participating in the show here on a Friday. And when sports betting got legalized and PASPA was overturned, may have been a good idea to take a look at some of the things that they're reversing right now, right? It only took 5-6 years to figure out, hey, we may have some issues, some ideas here. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Major League Baseball, a couple of players in baseball are involved in a current scandal surrounding betting on their own props, betting essentially against themselves, betting to make mistakes, telling people about it, and making a little bit of money. So the National Football League, Sam, certainly has their own response to this, which is trying to get ahead of something like this. You know, naturally, there's a lot of players in football who don't make the kind of money that they do in Major League Baseball. I mean, there's a lot more money involved in some of these players and positions. So what exactly does this look like, this memo? And it seems to be a little bit more than what baseball is doing, which is having max bets on some things. The NFL wants to get rid of some props entirely.
Yeah, that's certainly what this memo came across as when it first surfaced yesterday, like you mentioned, Craig, in light of these recent scandals we've had, not only in Major League Baseball, but in the NBA as well, where you have Commissioner Adam Silver has been called to Congress to notify politicians what the league is doing around sports betting and sports integrity concerns in light of these now 3 federal indictments from the FBI over the past month. The NFL sent out the memo stating that it has specifically banned prop bets on certain markets. These are markets deemed to be inherently objectionable, things that involve betting on injuries, player safety, a fan coming in from the stands, or anything else kind of inflammatory like that. Officiating related bets as well. So strict prohibition on any bets related to anything referees are involved in, number of penalties. And then most specifically, this is kind of the one market that was, newer than the other restrictions, was markets determinable by one person on one play. So those are things like whether a field goal kicker will make or miss the field goal. There's obviously 22 people on the field, but the kicker has a little more sway over whether it goes between the uprights or misses entirely. Things like quarterback, how much they're going to throw on their first play. Will a player fumble during a game? Things that are easily kind of controllable by one person, kind of in line with those pitches in question with the two Cleveland Guardian pitchers, which obviously they were able to manipulate throwing a ball or a certain speed a lot easier than maybe a shortstop or an outfielder would. And then the last one was predetermined outcomes, things that are tied to, will a quarterback start this week? Will a team's play be a run or a pass first to start the game? But interestingly enough, these are actually markets that are pretty much already banned at every major legal sports book, at least that I know of. All the leagues partnered sports books, which most of the legal sports books have to be partnered with the league. They already ban these markets, or states already ban these markets in general. So the memo, the timing of it was, it doesn't really seem like there's anything new here. It seems more like the NFL just wanted to kind of remind people and maybe seem like it's doing something, kind of, as the scrutiny around sports betting and sports integrity is really at an all-time high right now when you talk about all the scandals and Congress's involvement. Just this past week, you had the MLB cap $200 limits on individual pitch microbet wagers. So that was the first time a league has really come out and done something new, like you mentioned, years after sports betting has been legalized. And now it seems like the NFL wants to jump on board and remind its teams that it's doing everything it can to uphold sports integrity, sports betting integrity, as well as reminding them that it's actively talking to states and lawmakers to make sure it's aware of all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and we'll follow it as it goes. We'll see if the NFL has success with their partners like Major League Baseball appears to have done. Okay, so big news from FanDuel this week, just like DraftKings. It looks like, Sam, that FanDuel is indeed going to get involved in the prediction markets, which is going to be available in places where sports betting is not legal. And FanDuel and DraftKings, by the way, taking this to another level. I also saw that story about how they're not going to be operating in Nevada anymore. It must feel like, Sam, to me, that they think that they have a boon in business coming here if they're willing to do that.
Yeah, that's what we've been thinking about this whole time, is FanDuel and DraftKings are only going to get into this stuff if they really think it's going to be good for their business. Because you've had so many states beyond just Nevada say, hey, if you offer sports prediction markets in any state at any time, it could put your betting licenses in jeopardy. Now, importantly, DraftKings and FanDuel were not actually licensed to offer bets in Nevada. FanDuel did have a license with Boyd Gaming to be its official odds provider there. But Nevada, even though it's the sports betting state, kind of because it is the oldest sports betting state, it has very specific rules, which has made it hard for DraftKings and FanDuel to compete there as online sports books. The state wants to keep a lot of people at casinos, but certainly the big news being that FanDuel is going to launch not just prediction markets, but sports prediction markets next month before the end of the year, prioritizing states like California and Texas, where sports betting is not legal, but Kalshi and Polymarket have been taking bets on sports through a CFTC-regulated federal derivatives exchange model, which a number of states have now sued, saying this is actually legal sports betting that has been left up to us. And then now FanDuel and DraftKings making huge investments into the space. FanDuel estimates it's going to cost about $40 to $50 million just this year to launch prediction markets, which is pretty interesting because we kind of thought about for a while that it would be very easy for a company like FanDuel, which is owned by Flutter, which owns prediction markets across the globe, to just kind of turn a switch on and take bets immediately. So it'll be really interesting to see more of what this partnership actually looks like with CME Group, which is the group they're doing it with, why it's going to cost $50 million this year. And then next year, an estimated $200 to $30 million as well to its bottom line. That's going to be when it launches parlays on the product as well. It won't have those to start. It's only going to start with focusing on the major sports as well. So by April next year, FanDuel says it wants to have the leading product in the prediction market space, which is going to be less about getting money from these people in California and Texas and other states where sports betting is illegal, and more about acquiring those customers before sports betting eventually comes legal, which, as we know, is a much more profitable business for these companies. That's why they want sports betting legal. That's why they have not gone the route of federal regulated exchanges until now, and they're going to do it now to hopefully acquire those customers before sports betting becomes legal, as well as hopefully spur those states to legalize quicker. So pretty major news from the market leader in sports betting. It now wants to be the market leader in prediction markets.
And finally, the state of Ohio, let's just call it what it is, a little bit of bad luck that they had two players, playing professional sports in their area that were involved in this scandal that's going on right now. And again, innocent until proven guilty, but certainly the FBI feels like they have a lot of evidence here. So Ohio, I mean, what choice do they have, Sam? They got to, jump on board here in the state. But, no indictment on them necessarily, but following Major League Baseball's wishes here to sort of max out some bets here on props and ban a lot too.
Yeah, Ohio, interestingly enough, after we kind of first heard about these investigations into the Cleveland Guardians pitchers, came out and had its governor, Mike DeWine, say that it wanted to ban almost all prop bets in Major League Baseball that were easily manipulated by one person. That could have been beyond just pitches, too. That could have been individual bat performances, which we know a lot of people like to bet on just kind of for the fun of the game. So they were drafting these rules when these investigations were going on. And had been working on these things that could have potentially impacted other markets, other sports, whether it would have been next drive result in football. We don't know how far the language would have gone. It was bad press for them at the time. Then the MLB comes out this week after the FBI announces the arrests and says, no, that's okay. We're going to put this $200 limit on these pitches. Ohio, which has been among the most active and I would say best regulator states, they're very quick to respond to things and they don't usually make sweeping changes without a good reason. They came out and said that, we're actually not going to go ahead with these rules at the governor's request. The governor is satisfied with what the MLB did. It's better to have a national ban than a state-specific ban, which can make things more difficult. And they're going to hold back and just be fine with the limits. So I would say some good news here from Ohio, just kind of following the directive with the MLB.
All right. Great stuff, Sam. As always, have a great weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday. Appreciate it.
Thanks. You too, Craig.
Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report. Coming up next, John Lafayette joins us to go over some of the new deals and media rights around the globe. We'll be back with more NewsWire right after this.
Notre Dame playing very well, in a position to crack the top 12. Now they have to take care of business.
Here's what I want from my, and again, we're going to go over who we think is actually going to make the playoffs here a little bit later in the show. But understand this, Joe. I don't want any ACC in there. I don't want any Big 12 in there. Just give me the Big 10 and the SEC. And Mike, quite frankly, if you just gave me Ohio State, Indiana, and the rest of the SEC, boom, boom.
Nah.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
It is a sickness in this league. They stink, and they should stink next year. That's it.
But the expectation is to be a 9-8 football team.
So let's shake it. Why is that the expectation? They're garbage. And traded away two of the few good guys they have.
But they're going to get how many draft picks in the first round? 3 next year?
2.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Brissett has been that good. So this is a quarterback that I think is worth acquiring, but especially in Superflex leagues. If somebody's already got QBs passed by and Brissett's just collecting dust on somebody's bench, go out there, get him, because I think the next 4 weeks, some of the matchups too, he gets Jacksonville, he gets San Francisco, he gets Tampa. Those are going to be some higher scoring games potentially. Good news for fantasy managers who are trying to get Jacoby Brissett.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Today's prop was 15, right? And he's at 44. If you altered him to 20 or 25 plus, those are some big numbers. Like 15.5, like Jack Besh this morning was 11.5, and his number got bet up to 15.5. Tyler Lockett was 16.5 and bet down to 15.5. If you just took a shot, like 15 to 25 is nothing. And next week, his number's not going to be 15.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Lots of streaming news with the many networks that are trying to continue to build their footprint around the country. One of them, of course, is Paramount. We'll get to them, and we'll also talk about a new network that was on previously. So I guess it's kind of like an old network relaunch. We'll dive into that with John Lafayette, who joins us now to dive into the latest. And John, let's start off with the UFC, which certainly is a billion-dollar company and billion-dollar rights fees as well. Looks like they're streamlining a lot of their streaming programming coming up.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And, there's a lot of money going on in sports and TV. And the most recent big deal was this one between Paramount and the UFC. The UFC had been with ESPN, and they signed a new $7.7 billion 7-year deal with Paramount. Now, earlier this week, the owner of Paramount, David Ellison, who's the son of one of the richest people in the world, he explained why he thought it was a good idea to shell out that much money for this particular property. He said that, in addition to the UFC, that Paramount has signed up Zuffa Boxing. So he says that makes Paramount one of the biggest homes in the world for combat sports. And one of the objects here is to sort of boost up the number of subscribers that are for Paramount Plus. And they also said that the price for Paramount Plus is going to be going up because of this UFC deal. Right now it's about $8 a month with ads, $13 a month if you don't want to see ads. But the idea is that even after the price goes up, UFC fans are going to be getting a bargain because all of the fights that had been on pay-per-view are now going to be part of the basic package of what you're going to be able to see on Paramount Plus. So that's pretty good for if you're a fight fan. And UFC fans are pretty loyal. They're going to go out of their way, and they're going to look for the UFC, and they're going to find it. And if they find it, they're going to find it on Paramount Plus. Now, Ellison also said that UFC is a pretty unique property. They're going to be able to get all of it. A lot of the big sports properties are all over the place. NFL is on 7 different networks. The NBA is on 3 different networks. The UFC is going to be all on Paramount properties. That means Paramount Plus. It also means CBS. Now, UFC is also a year-round property. That means that people won't be able to drop Paramount Plus at the end of the football season, which apparently is something that people do. And then, come September, when the league starts up again, they sign up again. That's not going to be a problem with UFC because UFC has live fights all year round. Also, UFC is popular with young men. And guess what? CBS is popular with older ladies. So you're going to get a whole bunch of new people signing up that aren't playing with the Paramount people right now. And sports has been a big priority for them, so we don't think that this is going to stop. They're going to make sure that they hold on to the NFL. They're going to take advantage of the UFC, and they're going to see what else they can do in sports because, hey, if you're not in the sports business on TV, you're not in the TV business.
USA, of course, has been a prominent network as long as we've known it, John, and certainly it goes all the way back to the days where they launched and the WWF was on there as well. And as you mentioned, streaming and sports is, certainly something you have to have as a network. And USA is now turning the ball over, so to speak, to a new brand called USA Sports. What will that look like when they launch?
Well, yeah, USA Sports is part of Versant, which is the new company that was formed when NBC and Comcast get rid of their cable networks. Everybody knows the cable business is in trouble. People are looking for ways to offload those channels because they're not making as much money as they used to make. So Versant is, like I just said, if you want to be in the TV business, you want to be in the sports business. So they started up USA Sports. Now, they don't have what NBC had in terms of the big ticket items, the NFL or the NBA, but they've got a lot of other popular stuff. You got NASCAR, you got PGA Golf, you got Premier League Soccer, you got some WNBA and some WWE, Atlantic 10 college basketball, and League One volleyball. So, that's a pretty good roster of sports, and they want people to make sure that they know it, and they want to make sure that it's under a brand. And, we all know USA Network, and so maybe we'll all know USA Sports.
And the Pac-12 headed there as well?
Well, we'll see. They're one of those conferences where everybody's sort of trying to figure out what they're going to do next.
Finally, John, let's get to NBC Sports. I know that their network was very popular several years ago, but unfortunately with all the cord cutting and everything else on cable, they shut down back in 2021. It appears as though they're diving back into the sports industry again.
Well, again, it's a funny thing. The folks at NBC didn't want to be in the cable business, but when it comes to sports, maybe it's not so bad to be in cable business. They're going to be starting up a network called NBCSN, NBC Sports Network. That was what that network was called when they shut it down. Now they've got a carriage agreement with YouTube TV. They had a big, they had their art negotiations with YouTube TV and NBC a little bit earlier in the year, a couple of months ago. They came to a deal. As we all know, YouTube TV is still fighting with Disney, so there's no ESPN on YouTube TV. But you will get this new NBC Sports Network. So, who wants a sports cable network at this point? It's really hard to say. They're going to have 3 hours worth of the Dan Patrick Show. NBC is talking to Major League Baseball about a new package, so you might see some of those games there. So, who knows? If you're a cable subscriber, and you got one more place to look for some games. If you're not a cable subscriber, I don't know how much you're going to be losing.
Yeah, well, I mean, folks, they definitely want their ESPN and ABC back on YouTube TV. I don't think that's a fair trade. It's like, Luka for Anthony Davis, it feels like on that one. Anyway, John, have a great rest of your week. Appreciate it, and we'll talk again next week. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
All right, we'll dive back into the big story of the year in sports betting, which are these prediction markets. It made the announcement, FanDuel did, that they're going to be diving into the prediction market as well, but the way that they're going to do it appears to be a brand new app. So not on their FanDuel app, but on a prediction market app. We're going to find out how that works, courtesy of our friends at Front Office Sports. You're watching NewsWire here on SportsGrid, and we'll be back right after these quick messages, so stay with us on the grid.
Where are the wins coming from? And yes, I agree. Are they good enough to win those games? Yeah, of course they are, right? But the reality of this team is not very good this year in one-score games. They're not. That was their bread and butter a year ago. Like every win last year, one-score game, the Chiefs found a way to win it.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The 35 cents, though, for yes on Ohio State.
Yeah.
I like that, Donnie. I think there's value in that right now because we only got, 3 weeks left to go. Then we'll have conference championships. Yeah, the more they keep winning, and they will win, the more that will increase, and that's a pretty good return on an investment there with Kalshi.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
A little bit of a brand crisis when it comes to the league going from 54 to 72. Although I think it can help some players, I think it kind of hurts the brand of the league and what it kind of stood for, the innovation, the loudness, the different aspects of the game, the whole shotgun aspect, which makes it different. But is it better for these guys when they show up in majors?
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
If you live in a state that does not have legalized sports betting, it looks like you can at least get in on the prediction markets. Last week, courtesy of DraftKings, looks like this week we found out FanDuel is getting involved. A new prediction market app courtesy of FanDuel. How will it work? What will it look like? Let's turn it over to our friends at Front Office Sports as this app gets ready to launch either later this year or coming up next year. The big story has been prediction markets, and FanDuel is in.
This is a fascinating story. To tell you that, let me kind of rewind a little bit and explain what this is, right? Because as you just mentioned, a bunch of stuff. Prediction markets, with regard to sports, when it's on a sports outcome, it's essentially sports betting, although by a different name. You can put money on the outcome of a sporting event. So it's like Knicks versus Magic last night. Who will win, Knicks or Magic? You're trading money on it. These places like Kalshi and Polymarket have been rising in prominence this year in particular. And it was hard to tell for a while, like how much of this is hype, how much of this is real. The entry of FanDuel and DraftKings shows that this clearly is real. These are the two biggest sports books in the country, and they realize they have to get into this.
So obviously you can bet on sports in these prediction markets, but they're not, I guess, sports books per se, traditional ones like we've seen with, Fanatics and all these other ones.
Yeah.
So what are the differences here?
So this all started, this kind of bubbled up last December, I think it was. It was before the most recent presidential election. So these places, Kalshi was offering political event contracts.
Right.
So you were able to put money on the outcome of the presidential election. And the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, CFTC, which is a federal regulator, they sued Kalshi in federal court to say, you can't do this. This is betting on elections. And that was a whole high-profile lawsuit. Now that the administration has turned over, the Trump administration seems in support of this stuff.
Don't they have their own betting platform also?
Yes, they did. So the Truth Social is launching its own platform. There's a million platforms now. The two most prominent ones are Kalshi and Polymarket. But yeah, they offer trading on everything. Their claim is that it's like trading stock. And the kind of difference maybe between sports betting, although live betting does this, is that you can trade throughout the game and the price will fluctuate based on the volume of trading and who's trading on what. So it's a pretty complicated, it's not that complicated when you break it down, but it's a little bit confusing. I have a lot of friends who have asked me, like, what are prediction markets? I don't understand this at all. It really boils down to, it's a form of betting. There's sports betting. There's betting on political outcomes. You can bet on whether it's going to rain in New York City today, how high the temperature is going to go. And there seems to be some real kind of interest in this from people. To another point you made, these are offered in all 50 states. So that's why DraftKings and FanDuel are getting into it, because Kalshi and Polymarket have essentially, Polymarket's not available in the US, which we'll get into in a second. But Kalshi has essentially found a loophole in the system. So sports betting is regulated on a state-by-state basis. Right now there's 38 states, and Washington, D.C. have some form of sports betting allowed. Sports betting was federally illegal until 2018, when there was a U.S. Supreme Court decision that struck down a law that had banned it. But trading is legal everywhere. So places like Kalshi launched these event contracts in all 50 states, and they're basically daring regulators to say, hey, sue us, and we'll fight you in court. They are fighting in court in multiple states.
But these aren't like commodities that you're trading, right?
Well, so the argument is that they are, in a sense, although...
But they're not like a physical and a tangible thing, I guess.
Not. It's different than gold, but also cryptocurrency is kind of considered a commodity.
True.
Again, this is where you get into the weird technical legal aspects, which these battles are being fought in court. Legal experts that I've spoken to say that this really may ultimately get to the Supreme Court to be like, okay, is this different than betting?
And just guidance of what to do here. And you mentioned Polymarket specifically, not a U.S. company. So how do they sort of fit into the picture here in the United States?
So Polymarket is a U.S. company, actually.
Okay.
It's not currently operating in the United States because under the Biden administration, in 2022, they reached a settlement with the Biden administration where they were offering this stuff, basically. They reached a settlement where they paid a $1.4 million penalty and also agreed to not operate in the United States. So they've been operating elsewhere in the world. I think they're available in something like 180 countries across Europe, all this stuff. they are planning to get back into the country. They acquired an exchange operator that is federally licensed, and they've been, since the summer, have been making it seem like imminently they're going to get back into the country, which it's a big deal because the NFL season was starting in the fall. That's what everyone's trying to capitalize on. Kalshi sees hundreds of millions of dollars traded on NFL games every weekend, but Polymarket, to this point, still is not relaunched in the country.
Where are the wins coming from? And yes, I agree. Are they good enough to win those games? Yeah, of course they are, right? But the reality of this team is not very good this year in one-score games. They're not. That was their bread and butter a year ago. Like every win last year, one-score game, the Chiefs found a way to win it.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
35 cents, though, for yes on Ohio State.
Yeah.
I like that, Donnie. I think there's value in that right now because we only got, 3 weeks left to go. Then we'll have conference championships. Yeah, the more they keep winning, and they will win, the more that will increase, and that's a pretty good return on an investment there with Kalshi.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
A little bit of a brand crisis when it comes to the league going from 54 to 72. Although I think it can help some players, I think it kind of hurts the brand of the league and what it kind of stood for, the innovation, the loudness, the different aspects of the game, the whole shotgun aspect, which makes it different. But is it better for these guys when they show up in majors?
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We got Adam Kaufman for the next 25 minutes or so, recapping what happened in the National Football League last night, and also taking a look at the weekend. Now that we're getting these injury reports in, I got a better feel for some of the games as well. And Adam, thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. And certainly it was a game last night that for a minute there, if you backed the Jets, you thought, wow, okay, I got a real shot to cover this number, maybe even win. Jets got off to a good start. And then, well, the New England Patriots took off after that. Travion Henderson had a nice game, and certainly Drake May did his best MVP impression, as the Patriots right now are not just in the driver's seat for the division, but in the driver's seat for a potential #1 overall seed and a bye in the National Football League. Did not see that coming.
Definitely didn't see it coming, but I'll tell you what, Greg, as we sit here on November 14th, and I've been saying this for a few days, just sort of taking this game against the Jets on Thursday night for granted, I think they're going to get it. I think the Super Bowl, and at least the AFC and the road to the Super Bowl, I think it goes through Foxborough. And people out there maybe out there listening, watching, and scoffing at me saying that, and I assure you that is not just Patriots homerism or something like that, although I am a self-admitted Pats fan. This is really as simple, guys, as look at the schedules of the Patriots and the teams around them, okay? So after this weekend, if the Colts do their job, the Broncos do their job, which is no easy task in either case, actually, do the Colts even play, or the Colts have a bye? But
they have a bye.
So they have a bye, and then obviously it's the Chiefs against the Broncos, so that's no guarantee whatsoever that Denver wins that game. The other one that you take into consideration let's say, the Chargers, in their contest that they've got. I do think LA wins that game this weekend. But these are the teams that are right now, as we sit here again, entering Week 11 or Week 11 slightly underway, that are in the running for that top spot in the AFC. And the Colts have a reasonably difficult schedule coming up. They've got a few teams on there that are playoff expected teams with winning records, all of that. The Chiefs are going to face the Broncos twice. Denver has a tough road ahead in terms of trying to finish in that top slot. And LA, while playing from behind a game, now 2 games in the win column anyway, also has a relatively difficult schedule. The Patriots' schedule is a joke. I mean, they go to Cincinnati next. Joe Burrow's not back yet. Really shouldn't have any trouble with that game, despite that offense on the other side. We know the Cincinnati defense is among the worst, if not the worst, in the entire NFL. Then you're back home to host the New York Giants, dumpster fire, and then you have a bye week. And coming out of the bye week, you've got your really only 2 tough games that remain in the regular season. Rematch with Buffalo. That's in Foxborough. You beat them in prime time in Buffalo several weeks ago at this point. And then the Ravens, who by that point should have a winning record. Obviously, they're healthier on defense. Lamar Jackson's back. But then you finish out with the Jets and the Dolphins. Cakewalk. I mean, we could be sitting here conceivably going into Week 18 saying, boy, are the Patriots even going to play any starters going up against the Dolphins?
Right.
Or are they just going to be sitting, guys, resting and waiting for the first round bye? Truthfully, that is what's potentially the road in front of them. It's just the Patriots are good. Don't get me wrong. They are absolutely good. They have beaten the tough games on their schedule. You've beaten the Bills, won in Tampa last week. Yeah. I think they're silencing some of the doubters, some of the critics. But more than that, the schedule going forward is such a layup to the 1 seed that if they don't get it, it's because they screwed it up, not because another team beat them out.
Yeah, and I think it'll be fascinating if it's Buffalo or Kansas City or even Baltimore playing in the AFC Championship. I would guess that the Patriots will not be favored at home in an AFC Championship spot. I don't think that they would against any of those teams. Maybe one, if anything, but I don't know. I think a lot of money would come in on the other side.
There's a version of this. There's a version of this where I haven't done a deep dive into the bracket or anything like that. But at least as we sit here in theory, the Patriots could get a first round bye, and then obviously they're hosting a divisional round game.
That'd be a home game.
Kansas City that's coming in.
That's
I'm not sure the Patriots would be favored in that game.
No, you're right. You're right.
It's not. It doesn't even necessarily have to wait till the AFC title game. It could be difficult out of the chute.
Yeah, I mean, Indy they'd be favored, I think, but I'm not sure about those other teams. Drake May, by the way, let's throw this up before we move on from the Patriots and get to the rest of the NFL. 2,500 passing yards, 250 rushing yards, 20 touchdowns, 70% completion, and 80% winning percentage. No other quarterback in history has put up those numbers over a span of 11 starts in a single season. The reason why is, again, 80 winning percentage. I mean, that's just incredible at the start of the season. Yeah. And the Patriots are favored to win the division and have now jumped into the AFC conversation and the Super Bowl. As you can see, 7-1, shortest odds of the year right now to win the AFC. And they're finally on the mark there with the Super Bowl. It was 40-50-1 for a few months now. We are there. Okay, so now let's move ahead to Sunday. Let's start off in Jacksonville. From now on, you have to
refer to him, by the way, as MVP favorite Drake May. It's not just Drake May. MVP favorite Drake May.
Yeah, well, he's got to be before the games start on Sunday. They already played New England, so that doesn't make sense.
He is.
All right,
he has been for a couple weeks now.
Enough. He was MVP favorite after last week, tied with Stafford at 3-1 on FanDuel. I've been watching that market. Chargers and Jaguars. Chargers crossing the country to take on a Jacksonville team that just blew it last week against the Houston Texans. My gosh, total 43 and a half. I still, I guess if I planted my flag on Jacksonville at the beginning of the season, it's a little regrettable, but I'm just going to stick with it here. That eventually Jacksonville figures out how to win some games late. Their defense has really fallen apart recently, and the offense seems to be capable, but they took their foot off the pedal last week, Adam. It really cost them. I think the Chargers are probably the better team here, but what's the spot look like for you?
To me, it's the Chargers and the Chargers covering, especially when you can still get a 2.5 out there inside the field goal. Jim Harbaugh, I read this earlier, 10-3 against the spread in 1 p.m. East Coast games. He gets his teams ready to travel well. Did so with San Francisco prior to L.A. also. The Chargers, they've won 3 straight. They seem to be coming together a little bit defensively in particular. You know, I know there were the concerns, and rightfully so, but now that obviously Khalil Mack is back, Denzel Perryman is back, I mean, it just makes life very difficult on the opposite side. And I have never once, and I can't imagine I will, so long as Goldilocks is quarterbacking this team, plant my flag on the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think the Jags absolutely suck, Greg. I didn't think they were good coming into the year. I don't think they're good now. I think they have had some really kind of dramatic, borderline fake late game wins that has inflated the record. I don't see how it's not that the Chargers can't lose this game. They've really only had one bad loss this year, and it was really bad against the Giants, led by Jackson Dart, in a game that Malik Neighbors went down partway through, and LA just couldn't find a way to recover. That being said, the rest of the way, Chargers have generally won the games they're supposed to win, and doing so in somewhat convincing fashion. I expect this to be really another one of those games. I think that they're not going to run the ball well with Perriman back, so that's not good, obviously, on Travis Etienne's ledger. You know, I think that Lawrence is going to be facing a gauntlet of a pass rush, led by obviously Mack, and then on the other side for the Chargers, it's just a good spot for Herbert. You know, it's not an imposing defense on the other side. I think Vidal is going to do pretty well against a mediocre run defense. You know, it just goes to show, you know, we always say the running back position is a somewhat replaceable position, but he has elevated well over the last couple of weeks and put up some solid fantasy numbers at the very least. I think the Chargers go out and they take care of business.
All right, let's get to the my Stone Cold lock of the year, part 2. Part 1 lost. It was the coach bump when Callahan got fired. Now in college, every team when the coach has gotten fired this year is covered. It's been an incredible record in college. But 0-1 I am on my Stone Cold lock of the year. So I'm going back to it this week. It's the Giants plus 6.5 against the Green Bay Packers, 7 in some spots, total 42.5. Look at this total. It tells you the Packers offense is cooked.
Yeah, I know we got to hit the break, but I will tell you, I like the Packers to win. I do like the Giants to cover in this one. And honestly, it's less about the coaching. It's more about Jameis Winston. You don't know if Jameis Winston's going to go out there and, you know, throw multiple pick sixes, even though he has prayed to God that he save him from those pick sixes, or if they're going to go out and win outright as a dog. Everything is on the table with Jameis.
More previews coming up next.
We now have to figure out if they will be in the playoffs. They're the Super Bowl favorite and have shorter odds to miss the postseason as you and I sit here right now.
Right, but let me ask you this. Do you feel after this 5-4 record, 9 weeks, 10 weeks of the regular season, that their defense is as dominant as it was last year?
But the offense is better.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Fly Pelican, more like grounded Pelican. The Pelicans are 0-6 to start the season. Their main guys aren't their main guys. And it comes to a point where, what do you do if you are Joe Dumars and the leadership of New Orleans?
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
You want to throw $12, $13 million at Kiffin? That's always a possibility. Summerall, they lost the other night to, in that matchup to UTSA. Or do you go back to potentially the mad scientist and Nick Saban, give him, complete control of the athletic department and see if he can turn it around? We'll see. But whatever they go, they're going to need a coach to hit the ground running.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
His daughter, she's on the OF,
Okay.
She's on the OF
Is that
now.
right?
Yeah, she's on the OF now.
So he's got an OnlyFans daughter and a little son
who says he can beat Curry and LeBron.
And he's coaching a team that was down 72 to
Keep
nothing.
that dude away from polite society.
Okay, by the way, I'm with you. I didn't know any of that is
Numerous pops gotta go.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. The Houston Texans season was within basically like 30 seconds or a minute of being done last week against the Jacksonville Jaguars, but they came back to rally despite not having their starting quarterback. And this week, they do have a chance to stay alive in the hunt. Let's bring back Adam Kaufman for a preview of this game. We found out officially yesterday that C.J. Stroud is going to miss another game. Davis Mills did a nice job as a backup. He used to start, of course, for Houston. So it does make some sense that he'll get another shot here. The Titans have had, honestly, one of the most anonymous, worst seasons in a long time in the NFL. I mean, the Saints are terrible too, but at least they're clawing in some of these games. 37.5 is this total. Houston's defense is fantastic. Tennessee's offense and defense are both not. But yet, it is the NFL, Adam. You never know, right? So 5.5 is what Tennessee's getting this week, and they keep this game close.
Well, how many people got knocked out of Survivor by taking the Bills in Miami? I mean, you never know. You truly never know. The Titans are bad, man. I mean, 1-11 against the spread at home in their last dozen games, 12-30-1 against the spread the last 3 years overall. The Texans are obviously the rightful favorite against a Titans team that comes in 1-8 straight up and winless at home. They were shut out by the Texans in their first meeting going back much earlier in the year. I'm not really sure Cam Ward's going to fare all that much better here in this one, honestly, and put any points on the board. I would look toward the under on 37.5. It's not that the Texans are this great team, but it is a relevant team fighting for playoff positioning, trying to get into a wild card slot, or, you know, well, the division's not going to happen, obviously, with Indianapolis there, but the Texans are, I think there's a prideful element in trying to salvage this season and go out on a high note in these remaining weeks. The blocking unit has improved in front of the quarterback position. Obviously, like you said, it's not C.J. Stroud, it's Davis Mills. I'm not sure that, frankly, the Texans really take that much of a step backward. Mills, as you said, he looked good last week, looked good in the partial game prior to that when C.J. Stroud was concussed, and there's just nothing this Titans team can do defensively that strikes any fear in you. It's a horrific defense, basically as bad as it is offensively. And so, you know, I know that, like me, there are going to be some people that are at least thinking about the idea of going with Houston and Survivor this week. If you're fortunate enough to still be live, it's a little bit of a scary spot. I know the number has moved against us, those of us feeling that way. It was, you know, out toward what, 7.5. It's all the way down to 5.5, 6. I guess that's the movement toward Mills and away from Stroud. To me, I just don't see that playing that much of a difference. Certainly not a point and a half's worth. I just don't think Stroud has been that great this year. You have Nico Collins. I think that ultimately Mills is going to hit him just fine. Woody Marks is going to have his opportunities now that he seems to, you know, really be the true number one out of the backfield, the rookie for this team. Texans should roll in this game, Craig. But like you said, weird things happen.
It does. It always in the NFL. All right. 49ers visiting the Cardinals, and what has to be a must win for them this week. That's one of the later games on the slate. I feel like we've spent entirely too much time talking about Kyler Murray and Jacoby Brissett. I mean, I don't think it matters either way on this one. Like, way too much time. Jacoby Brissett's been around for like 20 years, and, you know, so much, he's going to be so much better, and he's playing better than Kyler Murray. Man, this just seems like desperation, honestly, from either the owner or the GM on the side of the Cardinals. I'm a dog better, but I ain't doing this with Arizona here. I think San Francisco is just the far superior team in this spot. And, you know, eventually Kyler Murray will come back. He'll play. And then no knock on Jacoby Brissett. But again, like to think all of a sudden, 20 years later, like there's been one guy that's kind of 20 years later, come on, Geno Smith. And he went back to a pumpkin again. So it's like to think that all of a sudden Brissett is going to be like Lamar Jackson, ridiculous talk. But we went through it for a couple weeks.
Well, I think it's, for a few weeks he looked good, and I think people were relatively inspired by that against obviously a, group of shoddy defenses. Thing is, now he's got a real defense from San Francisco, or had a real defense, from Seattle last week and regressed, and all of a sudden people got panicky. Now San Francisco, it's kind of a middling defense on the other side with the injuries that it's been dealing with over the course of the year and not getting much better. I do like San Francisco in part because I like the offense better. I mean, Trey McBride has a legitimate connection. There's no disputing it with Jacoby Brissett and not Kyler Murray. And you could kind of say the same thing at this point for Marvin Harrison Jr. But I think Christian McCaffrey is going to do well. Brock Purdy obviously returning. You've got Juwan Jennings, who's been hot of late. And it's just, again, which team is better? And I'm not going to buy in on the Cardinals. As far as Brissett goes, he's a journeyman vet. He's one of the better backups that, is out there, is available to you in the NFL, but he is just that. He's a backup. I mean, he's been in those whatever company backup commercials that are out there. That's what he is. He knows what he is. And it's honestly, it's kind of embarrassing that the Cardinals had to make up an injury for Kyler Murray to put him on IR because they didn't want to deal with the brushback of actually benching him because Brissett was the better option.
Seahawks and Rams. Boy, doesn't this point spread tell a story here for you here? The Rams, as well as they've played, and Stafford, the MVP candidate, only a 3-point favorite this week against Seattle. Total of 48.5. The Rams appear to be one of those potential NFC contenders to take out Philadelphia. Oof, I got to tell you, a fishy line leads me to the other side here to take the road team. I mean, that's the only way that I could look at this. If it was 4.5 or 5, I'd feel like, okay, that's the way it should be. But sort of tells me here Seattle's got a legit shot. What do you think?
I don't blame you. I still kind of think the Rams do win this game, but it's awfully tempting, even as short as the number is, to go on the other side. And the fact that it's outside a field goal, maybe that's enough of a reason to go plus 3.5. But Kyron Williams, stout run defense on the other side for the Rams. It's a great defense, great pressure rate that Matthew Stafford's going to have to deal with. Devontae Adams is questionable. If you don't have him, it's just that much more responsibility on the shoulders of Puka Nacua, who can't seem to go through a game, it feels like, without at least getting nicked up and going to the tent and getting checked out. On the other side, Sam Darnold, who, at one point in time might have been in the MVP conversation, has been unstoppable with Jackson Smith and Jigba. These two have an incredible rapport that, the Rams defense is solid. And I'm really curious to see how they're able to potentially slow this tandem down. But if they can't, they're in for a long day. I still ultimately do lean Rams in terms of winning the game, if you're thinking about money line parlays, that type of thing. But it does feel like the right side with the points would be Seattle.
All right, Adam, great stuff as always. Appreciate it. We'll catch up again soon. Thanks for coming on NewsWire.
Look forward to it.
We'll wrap it up with some last licks after this. Don't go away.
We now have to figure out if they will be in the playoffs. They're the Super Bowl favorite and have shorter odds to miss the postseason as you and I sit here right now.
Right, but let me ask you this. Do you feel after this 5-4 record, 9 weeks, 10 weeks of the regular season, that their defense is as dominant as it was last year?
No, but the offense is better.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Fly, Pelican, more like grounded Pelican. The Pelicans are 0-6 to start the season. Their main guys aren't their main guys. And it comes to a point where, what do you do if you are Joe Dumars and the leadership of New Orleans?
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
you want to throw $12, $13 million at Kiffin, that's always a possibility. Summerall, they lost the other night to, in that matchup to UTSA. Or do you go back to potentially the mad scientist and Nick Saban, give him, complete control of the athletic department and see if he can turn it around? We'll see. But whatever they go, they're going to need a coach to hit the ground running.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
His daughter, she's on the OF.
Okay.
She's on the OF.
Is that right?
Yeah, she's on the OF.
So he's got
now.
an OnlyFans daughter and a little son
who says he can beat Curry and LeBron.
And he's coaching a team that was down 72 to
Keep
nothing.
that dude away from polite society.
Okay, by the way, I'm with you. I didn't know any of that is.
Numerous pops gotta go.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. It is Major League Baseball's award season coming to a close. We'll have a full recap of that. Also, an NBA coach taking a little shot at another NBA coach. Didn't see that coming. And for those of you who are one of those people who like to give a penny and take a penny, this may be coming to an end for you soon. It's time now for some last licks. Last night, the American League and National League MVPs were handed out. As we mentioned earlier in the show, Shohei Ohtani wins back-to-back MVPs in the National League with the Los Angeles Dodgers. And over in the American League, Aaron Judge did the same, just edging out Cal Raleigh to win the American League MVP. But that wasn't the big takeaway from this. In fact, Aaron Judge accepted his award yesterday, and ironically, looking a lot like a picture of The Rock from his younger days, which we have been making fun of for a long time. What was up with this? Did he do this on purpose? I don't think so. But yeah, Aaron Judge wearing that black turtleneck with the chain around it, kind of looking like the young Rock. The Rock has had a lot of fun with this himself, clowning himself with this. I wonder if Aaron Judge knew or got some consulting here to do the same. But give Judge the MVP. I, for one, don't have a vote in this. Would have voted for Cal Raleigh. I've made that clear here on the show many times. Catcher having the best season maybe ever for a catcher, maybe since Mike Piazza, and better defender than Piazza was. But they give this thing to Aaron Judge. I guess very deserving as well. Can't argue it. Okay, over to the NBA. We know that J.J. Redick kind of got fortunate to get that gig as NBA's head coach after doing a podcast. That's true. For those of you not following, Lakers coach was a podcast host. Former great NBA player, great college player, but not a lot of coaching experience. Chris Finch recently went on a podcast on The Ringer with Bill Simmons. He is the coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, and he was asked about potentially doing a podcast, and he responded by saying, I mean, it'll qualify you to coach the Lakers. Now, it was tongue-in-cheek because Finch has a really good relationship with J.J. Redick, but as we know that in every statement with some joking, there's a little bit of seriousness as well. So really funny quip here from Finch, who's Minnesota Timberwolves looking to get back in the NBA playoffs and have a good season. Redick, of course, up against it, still does not have LeBron James back on the court, but his guy Luka playing fantastic baseball. So, look, I think a lot of what we're headed toward in the future, podcasting, video, YouTube, a lot of this is going to be controlled by the people who are running things, coaches, players, individual control. So it wouldn't shock me to even see Chris Finch have a podcast in the future. Okay, so we came to an end yesterday, or we're coming to an end here, and this has nothing to do with sports, but I feel like it was worth talking about. I wanted to bring it up. Back in 1793, the first pennies were made, and as somebody who has been a coin collector in the past, these were, called wheat pennies. I don't know if you've seen them. In fact, that they had even pennies before that, but they look different than the current Lincoln pennies that you see now. But the government decided that it just became too expensive to make pennies, essentially. They cost more than a penny to make a penny. And so officially, they're done. That's it. So if you haven't been paying attention, yes, they will still be in circulation and probably be in circulation for a long time. And I don't know that there's any real numismatic value to pennies because they're made from copper. It's not like silver or gold, which is on the market and worth a lot more. but those days of you getting change with pennies are through. So officially from 1793 to November 12th, 2025, those of you who, give a penny and take a penny when you get change at your local supermarket or CVS or Walgreens, wherever you are, if you still pay in cash these days. I know a lot of people don't even pay in cash. And I think that's probably more of the story here. So few people are even accepting change and paying with change that it was just time to get rid of it. So that's it. So how long do you think the penny will still be around for in circulation? 10 years? 20 years? 30 years? 50 years? I don't know. It's still going to be around. Just they're not making them anymore. All right, that'll do it for our show today. Thanks to our guests, Bill Bender of Sporting News, Sam McQuillan of Legal Sports Report. We've got John Lafayette in the house, and also thanks to Adam Kaufman as well. Don't forget, you can catch me on an edition of Fantasy Sports Today coming up later today with George Kurtz, so keep it right here to SportsGrid. Also, download the SportsGrid app for our full choice of programming. Streaming 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Take out your phone, scan that QR code for both iOS and Android. The SportsGrid app, folks, no catches. It's completely free. You could just stream our network on it. So make sure you download the SportsGrid app. Hope everybody has a great weekend. We'll be back here for our next edition of NewsWire Monday at 12 o'clock Eastern. Plenty of great football and basketball and hockey this weekend. Catch all of our live program exclusively here on SportsGrid. Thanks again to our director, Luke. For my producer, Frank, I'm Craig Mish. I'll see you back here Monday for our next edition of NewsWire.